Good morning, everyone. This is our Friday morning report on May the 14th, the feast day of St. Matthias today, this morning. Thank you for joining us in our Friday morning report. As you well know, it's a simple way for us to connect your shepherd with the people of God in the Archdiocese of Winnipeg and to receive feedback from you. So we are now in that very special time of stricter protocols in the province of Manitoba. I asked Christian Martinez, who produces the Friday morning report and from our Office of Communications, and just to give me a bit of a rundown to date of our present situation. We do have stricter protocols in the province right now, and we know that it's very difficult. Our churches now do not have services, gathered services indoors. We know that. It's difficult for us, but we also know that it's temporary. And the situation is a little bit serious right now in the province of Manitoba. I understand that the province of Manitoba recently reached a grim milestone of 1,000 deaths due to COVID-19. That's a lot of deaths, not to mention all of those who have been stricken in the hospital, who are still suffering side effects from the COVID-19. COVID-19 test positivity rate is 12% in the province as a whole, but 14.4% in the city of Winnipeg. That's pretty high. And so obviously the mitigation of the virus is still going on. It's still a serious project. As of yesterday, there are 557 new cases, and 431 of these new cases were in the city of Winnipeg. The second highest number in Canada of new cases per 100,000 people. 14-day average. The partial immunization has now reached 47.5% of the population, and that's for the one shot. And the hope is by the end of summer that most of the province will receive the second shot. So we're well on our way, even though right now we do experience a time of additional hardship. But I'm very grateful as your pastor to all the people of God in the Archdiocese of Winnipeg for the efforts that are being made. Absolutely. Our clergy, our religious, our church leaders in various parishes, and the efforts that are being made. Certainly outdoor services in automobiles is not prohibited. There is that possibility. And our churches have not been closed by the province. Our churches can still be open for sacramental needs. And I just want to mention that the people of God have a great desire to connect with their parishes and to receive the sacraments. I thank all of you for all the good efforts that you're making. We kind of put our heads down and we move forward and do what we have to do to be good partners in stewardship with our greater civic society in Manitoba. So thank you. I just want to remind you that the month of May is called Mary's month. It's the month of our Blessed Lady. The Rosary figures very powerfully in the month of May. And I think that we should know that the Holy Father is asking for the Rosary to be prayed often during May for two reasons. One, to mitigate the pandemic, to put an end to the pandemic throughout the world, and to reactivate work life and social life in our communities. So I really want to encourage you to, at home, to pray the Rosary together and be part of that great, what the Pope would call, a marathon of prayer throughout the world in the Catholic Church. I also noticed too, and this is an interesting little point, the Pontifical Council for promoting the new evangelization, and maybe this can be put at the bottom of the screen when this is viewed, this Friday report, the Pontifical Council for the promoting of the new evangelization, they are organizing, and right now it's on the way, of the possibility of praying at any one of 30 major shrines to our Blessed Lady in the world. All you've got to do is log on to the Pontifical Council and you can choose which of the world shrines you want to join, be part of in a virtual rosary. And that will be an added motivation to pray the rosary during this month of May. And for the same reasons, to put an end to the pandemic throughout the world and also to reactivate the work life of our people and their social life as well. I received a letter the other day from one of our religious in the Archdiocese, and she said that the pandemic is also a time of grace. She's not ignoring the fact that people have died, there are people who are sick, and there is suffering, but also in this, there's a time of grace. What are the blessings that we have perceived during this time of the pandemic? I think it would be great once in a while for families as they gather around together around the table, maybe ask that question to family members. What to you has been a time of grace or blessing during this pandemic? And to share it, because God is present in all of these situations. So we have a few questions today as well to respond to. And the first question has to do really with our Blessed Lady. I was very pleased to see that. It goes like this. When did the consecration of Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary by the bishops and the Pope happen? Could you tell us more about this? Well, I don't know if you get Netflix or not, but on Netflix is a movie called Fatima. And it's not a bad movie. It gives kind of a simple history of the wonderful apparitions of Mary in Portugal in 1917 during the First World War to three children, Francisco, Jacinta, and Lucy. And there were 6 appearances of Mary to these children at Fatima. And many things were revealed to the children and through the children to the whole world. And one of the things was Our Lady was asking that Russia be consecrated to the Immaculate Heart, to her Immaculate Heart, for the conversion of Russia, that Russia would not spread the errors of communism throughout the world. Now, in 1917, Russia had just started along the road towards communism. And we all know the history, to that. So the question is, did the Pope and the bishops of the world ever do what Our Lady asked at Fatima? Throughout the years, there have been a number of different consecrations of the world and Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary by different popes. But I want to draw your attention to St. John Paul II in 1984, March 25th. The Holy Father, in a very intentional way, in St. Peter's Square, in front of a statue of Our Lady of Fatima, consecrated the world and Russia to Mary's Immaculate Heart. And in union with all the bishops of the world, the bishops received a letter from the Holy Father. And Sister Lucy, who was the only one of the 3 children who was still living at the time, said affirmatively that this certainly met Our Lady's request. And I should say that it wasn't long after that that the Iron Curtain collapsed and communism ended in Russia, and in a very miraculous way. So I think that's one way I would respond to your question about the consecration of Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. I would encourage you to watch the movie if you wish, Fatima, or read a good book on that subject. You'll find it very interesting indeed. It's a major event in our Catholic faith in the modern world. The second question, I'm considering converting to the Catholic Church because of my learning mostly through the internet. However, I'm having a hard time finding a community I can grow with, especially because of the pandemic. Any advice for me? Well, I guess the Holy Spirit's moving inside you in a very special way. And my first advice would simply be for you to maybe come and speak to a fellow Catholic, a disciple of Christ, about what's on your heart and mind, to kind of walk with you at this time as you are discerning whether or not to enter the church. In terms of connecting with the community, the pandemic makes it very difficult, but I wonder what parish church is close to you. That might be a first place to start, maybe to talk to the pastor there, or to another pastor in the Archdiocese of Winnipeg. The live streaming availability of a number of parishes allows you to kind of see what's going on in each one of the parishes that have live streaming. So it's a matter of discernment and a matter of prayer. But the fact that you would write a note like this, a question like that, indicates that the Spirit is moving in your heart. And I would encourage you to share your interest, your hopes and desires with a trusted human being that you know in your life, and hopefully one who is connected to the church, who can share with you a little bit more about the Catholic way of life. Thank you very much for that question. Always nice to have those kinds of questions come our way. And the last one, will you extend the general dispensation from Sunday Mass beyond Pentecost, May 23rd? And the answer to that is yes. Just decided the other day that July the 4th, we're going to extend the dispensation from Sunday Mass to July the 4th this summer. We have a special guest today as well, and that is Justony Vasquez, who comes to us from Life's Vision in Manitoba. Vasquez is her last name. Justony has been on Friday Report before, and Life's Vision is a pro-life organization in Manitoba that touches upon many different churches and organizations. And she's going to speak to us today about an important bill that's coming before Parliament, Bill C-233, and she's going to explain to us what that's about. So welcome, Justony.
Thank you, Your Grace, for the invitation to come to the Friday Report. It's always a pleasure to share the good news of life. And so Bill C-233 is proposed by MP Kathy Wagenthal. She's an MP of Yorkville. And her aim really is to make an amendment to the criminal code, which will prohibit medical professionals from performing abortions, whether it's through the use of drugs or the use of instruments. But to prevent those kinds of abortions solely on the basis of sex, the sex of the fetus, the sex of that human baby.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. So a private member's bill. Now, when you became involved in this issue, among other issues in the pro-life movement, what is the thing that really troubles you over this idea of sex-selective abortions? Which is a reality in Canada. That's not talked about publicly. It's one of those hidden things, but it's very much a reality in the country. So what is the thing that really kind of hits you and bothers you, and you see that something must be done about this?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's many things that really concern me. And the first is that human babies, these fetuses, they are dying, right? We are losing members of our society. These people who are made in the image and likeness of God are not being given the right to life. So that's one thing that concerns me. 300 children a day are lost due to abortion. Right. And many of them, or a select few of them, are actually lost because of sex selection. And this practice, we, as Canadians, we think that's something we don't deal with, that's something in other countries, or it's antiquated, that's no longer a practice. But the reality is that it is prevalent, it still happens in many cultures. And because Canada is so great in embracing cultures, it happens here as well. Mm-hmm. We take the good and, unfortunately, the ugly out of some of our cultures, and the consequences of that, of these racial disparities between males and females, is that in these countries where it's still heavily practiced, women are subject to kidnapping, they're subject to human trafficking, they're subject to a lot of abuse, a lot of pressure. And even here in Canada, these women who are still in cultures that embrace this preference of sons, mm-hmm. is that they will face pressure within their family. They will face pressure to have sons. They face, in some cases, coercion and abuse because they prefer to have sons over daughters.
Right.
And that abuse is just scary, and there's no place for that.
It's very difficult to really determine how prevalent this is in Canada, but enough studies have been made and enough commentary has been given to really raise the alarm bells for this, And in a society which talks about, equal rights for women and wanting to help women to move away from being in discriminatory situations, we have sex selective abortions. And you've explained to us, why some people want to go down that route in the preference of having male children over female children. So is there an opposition to this bill that you've so far detected?
Yes, there is opposition, especially from many different parties, and actually there's a study that 84% of Canadians agree that sex selective abortion should be illegal. However, when Kathy Wagenthal is presenting in front of the House of Commons, then there are, other female MPs who are really saying like this is an attack on a woman's right to choose. And,
Well,
right.
that opens up the whole area, Justony, of why elected officials to Parliament won't support a bill like this, or don't seem to want to support a bill like this, when 84% of the people, and you mentioned the fact that they think that a woman's right to choose overrides everything else in this case. The number of Canadians that would oppose sex selective abortion is very, very significant. How do you think this bill will be received in Parliament, and when is it going to be coming forward?
Right. Well, it is my hope and prayer that a lot of us will actually be informed that something is being put in place, because a lot of us can have this conviction that we are against sex selective abortion, but it requires action to let our MPs know. And so the day to do that is May 28th will be a day of second debate. And then on June 2nd is when they will actually have their vote. And so we do have time to let our MPs know that this is something we care about, and this is something that is important to us, and it requires action. And so an initiative that's being done around the nation is people are sending their MPs pink envelopes. And they're even sending Kathy Wagenthal pink envelopes to show that they are in support of this bill to amend the criminal code. And it is wonderful. Actually, there have been a lot of other religious organizations, our brothers and sisters from other religions, who are in support of this. So the Vedic Hindu Society is very supportive of Kathy Wagenthal, and the Sikh Society is also very much in support, which shows that even those who are coming from this kind of culture, they have come to embrace that daughters and women and girls are important, belong in our society, and that the fact that we have zero laws on abortion is something that needs to be changed.
Thank you. And it's encouraging to hear that there is an interfaith kind of component to this realization of the importance of the child in the womb, whether the child is female or male. Now, if someone wants to contact you, or to know a bit more information about how to address this issue through the mail or something like that, what would they do, Justony?
Yeah, so they would be able to go on to our website, www.lifesvision.ca. And I'm sure we'll have that in the description bar. And they can easily find, there will be a pop-up that talks about equality in the womb, and sex selective abortion will be the first thing that they'll see, and how they can send messages to their own MP, and how they can also show their support for Kathy Wagenthal and the petitions that she's putting out. Your Grace, I wanted to add that every 25 signatures that Kathy Wagenthal receives, she's able to present it in front of the speaker. And so even if we gather 25 signatures, we can talk about this issue or she can talk on our behalf about this issue. And that is significant, because abortion has not been talked about on the floor in over 15 years to this extent. And so, yes, we really want the participation of the church, right? It is God himself who just shows how beautiful men and women are, and how we are made in his image and likeness. So.
Yeah, great points. Very, very interesting points you've made, Justiny. And I think that two things here is that by having that debate, not only in Parliament, but other places, it's a sign of a healthy society where you can talk about subjects openly when there is a great concern, because the abortion issue itself is so fundamental to the whole secular society that if voices are not heard, obviously this is not a place where freedom of speech is valued, and different ideas, inclusive ideas, should be present. That's very, very important. That's the first thing for our democracy. Second thing, I want to mention what Pope Francis is doing right now. He's talking a lot about prayer, and he's sort of like a spiritual director. And he mentions how powerful prayer is. Prayer is not always easy, but prayer is powerful. And he mentions how persistent prayer touches the heart of God. It opens up God's heart to his mercy. So I just want to emphasize that prayer is very important in this as well, because hearts are hard. Hearts have convinced themselves, people have convinced themselves of certain things without going deeply into it and allowing a free and open debate about the issue. So thank you for making us aware of this bill. You know, if it wasn't for your words today over the Friday report, we wouldn't be hearing about this in the newspapers or on the TV news bulletins or reports, right? So you've done a service to us. Thank you for the work for Life Vision in Manitoba, much appreciated, and for your dedication to the cause of life. God bless.
Thank you, Grace. God bless. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for your questions and being with us today in this short Friday report. I pray that God continues to bless you and walk with you, which I know he always will, that you open your heart to his love in your life. May he bless your family, your loved ones, keep you safe as we move forward through this pandemic. May God bless you and keep you well, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.